Welcome to Headphone News, Montreal edition for Wednesday, November 27, 2024.
Challenges in Montreal's rental market. Montreal, in Quebec, is facing serious challenges in its rental market. The Tribunal Administratif du Logement, or TAL, reported over 91,000 cases in the past year, which is a 40% increase. Hearings for unpaid rent are limited to just 5 minutes, making it hard for tenants to fully present their cases. Rising rents have also added to the problem, with an average increase of 7.7% last year. Many tenants are struggling to pay their rent, while landlords file most of the cases. To address the growing demand, the Quebec government plans to boost the TAL budget by $6.2 million Canadian dollars. This situation underscores the urgent need for better protections for tenants.
Road closures this weekend in Montreal. Motorists in Montreal, Quebec, should prepare for significant road closures this weekend. The Quebec Transport Ministry has announced that Highways 13 and 520 will be affected. Exit 4 on Highway 520 will close from Friday at 10 p.m. until Monday at 5 a.m. Côte de Liesse Road will also be fully closed between 23rd Avenue and the entrance to Highway 13 northbound during the same times. Long-term restrictions will impact the ramp from Highway 520 eastbound to Highway 13 northbound until December 20th. In Brossard, ramps from Marie-Victorin Boulevard to Highway 10 will close from Friday night until Monday morning. These closures are part of maintenance efforts aimed at improving road safety.
Murder trial in Brossard, Quebec. The trial of Mohamed Al-Balouz is taking place in Brossard, Quebec. Al-Balouz is charged with the murders of Cynthia Bussières and her 2 young sons, Zach and Eliam. These tragic events occurred on September 24, 2022. A pathologist testified that the boys had no signs of violence and likely died before a fire was set in their home. The prosecution alleges that Al-Balouz stabbed Bussières, who had multiple defense wounds, before harming the children and attempting to take her own life. Al-Balouz, who identifies as a woman, is representing herself in court and claims that Bussières was responsible for the deaths of the children. This case highlights critical issues surrounding domestic violence and the need for improved mental health support.
Unionized CN workers vote for strike action. Union members at Canadian National Railway, or CN, have voted overwhelmingly in favor of strike action. This decision shows strong support from workers who are seeking better job security, fair pay, and improved working conditions. The vote took place on November 26, 2024. Union leaders have stated that if an agreement is not reached by January 1, 2025, workers are ready to strike. Negotiations will continue in Montreal, Quebec, until December 8, 2024. The push for strike action stems from ongoing dissatisfaction with concessions that undermine workers' rights and purchasing power. This situation highlights broader labor issues in Canada, as workers advocate for fair treatment in the workplace.
Montreal police search for clues in 2022 murder case. Montreal police will search the banks of the Rivière des Mille Isles in Laval, Quebec, on November 28, 2024. This search is part of an ongoing investigation into a murder that took place on August 10, 2022. 2 men were conversing in a parking lot in Montreal North when 2 armed suspects opened fire. One victim, aged 26, later died from injuries in the hospital. This incident marked the 19th murder in Montreal that year. Authorities urge anyone with information about the case to come forward.
Pauline Marois appointed Chancellor of UQAM. Pauline Marois has been named Chancellor of the Université du Québec et Montréal, or UQAM, making history as the first woman to take on this important role. With a notable political career, Marois previously served as Premier of Quebec and held key positions such as Minister of Education and Minister of Health and Social Services. In her new honorary position, she will support UQAM's mission and represent the university at various events. Marois has also raised concerns about the labor shortage affecting educators in Quebec. This appointment underscores the importance of leadership in education and the ongoing commitment to public education.
New mRNA trials for lung cancer in Canada. The McGill University Health Centre in Montreal, Canada, has launched new clinical trials using messenger RNA technology to treat non-small cell lung cancer, which is the most common type of lung cancer. These trials are aimed at patients with stage 2 and 3 cancer who have had surgery. The goal is to improve treatment outcomes by using personalized vaccines that specifically target cancer cells. This innovative approach builds on the advancements made during the COVID-19 pandemic, when messenger RNA technology was successfully used in vaccines. The hope is to enhance patient outcomes and lower the chances of cancer returning.
Quebec Premier warns of tariff impact. Quebec Premier François Legault spoke to the media in Quebec City on November 26, 2024, about President-elect Donald Trump's threat to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports. Legault warned that these tariffs could result in tens of thousands of job losses in Quebec and harm the economy. He pointed out that 70% of Quebec's exports go to the United States, with 90% of the province's aluminum being sent for manufacturing. Legault called on Prime Minister Trudeau to address Trump's concerns about border security and suggested using key industries like electricity and aluminum as leverage in negotiations. Julie White, a spokesperson for the manufacturers and exporters of Quebec, echoed these concerns, stating that a 25% tariff would raise prices for consumers in both Canada and the U.S.
Violent anti-NATO protest in Montreal leads to arrests. A violent anti-NATO protest occurred in Montreal, Quebec, on Friday. The demonstration escalated into chaos, causing significant property damage, including broken windows and vehicles set on fire. Montreal police estimate around 30 individuals were responsible for the destruction. 3 people have been arrested, with more arrests anticipated soon. Premier Legault called for immediate action to restore order and referred to the violent demonstrators as thugs. Mayor Plante also condemned the vandalism, noting that some individuals exploited the protest to cause harm. This incident highlights ongoing tensions surrounding NATO and public demonstrations in Canada.
Montreal Olympic Stadium roof rebuild progress. Montreal's Olympic Stadium is in the midst of a major roof reconstruction project. This work started 4 months ago and is expected to take a total of 4 years to finish. The old roof has been completely removed, leaving the stadium's interior exposed. A new fixed metal roof will be installed, improving safety and usability for future events. This renovation is part of ongoing efforts to enhance infrastructure in Montreal, Quebec, and aims to boost local businesses and tourism.
BIXI bike ridership increases in Montreal. BIXI, the bike-sharing service in Montreal, reported a 15% increase in ridership for 2024, with over 13 million trips taken. More than 2 million of those trips occurred in July and September. Between November 16, 2023, and April 14, 2024, nearly 1 million trips were made by 93,000 users. 65% of these users tried winter cycling for the first time, and 81% plan to continue cycling during the winter months. Thanks to support from Loto Quebec, a government-owned corporation, BIXI is able to operate year-round. Future plans include adding 22 new stations in Longueuil and tripling the number of stations in Laval from 26 to 75. BIXI also achieved a satisfaction rate of 91.1% among users. The service continues to gain popularity across Quebec.
Mount Royal Cemetery sues Montreal over road closure. The Mount Royal Cemetery Company has filed a lawsuit against the City of Montreal over the planned closure of Chameleon Howd Road to vehicles. This change is part of a redevelopment project that will make the road accessible only to cyclists and pedestrians by 2027. The cemetery argues that this closure will restrict access for families and visitors, violating historical rights established in a land agreement from 1928. While the city plans to add green space, it maintains that emergency vehicles will still have access. The outcome of this lawsuit could have significant implications for urban planning and public access rights in Montreal. That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.